This is Pod Populi.
Podcast for the people.
In many ways, I have had trust issues, and here I am.
It's highlighting it big time.
Medicine is like, here it is.
Yeah.
But it's my responsibility to digest this message, right? The message doesn't always make sense.
And it was just trying to, maybe it was like you said, stubborn.
Oh, yes.
It's going to throw it at you in a large way so that the only way through it is through it. You have to go through it.
Yes.
You can't ignore it.
100%.
Yeah. Welcome to MAX Afterburner, powered by No Fallen Heroes. Once again, I am Susan Buckley. I'm hosting my very second, as opposed to my very first, episode here of the podcast. They say that to grow, you should step outside your comfort zone. So here I am on the other side of my comfort zone once again, hanging out, growing. And I'm very happy to welcome my dear friend, Carolina, to the podcast. She was one of our first, she was in our first group of recipients to go to Colorado. So she was part of our first heroes being healed at home. And so I'm honored to have you here to talk about your journey and what you learned. And maybe we'll start off with what your reason was for going on the journey. I met Carolina a couple years ago, maybe 6 years ago now.
It has
been a little
5,
while.
6 years ago, yes.
Yeah. And she's also, by the way, an amazing designer. She did some stuff at my house. So if you need any design tips, give her a ring. But so let's get into it. Let's talk about why you felt you needed the journey. You're also do yoga. You're a yoga instructor, so you're already mindful and have some good, practices in place before you went here. So tell us a little bit about your journey and welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you for this intro. It is an honor for me to be here. And I do hope that sharing my story can serve of inspiration to others. And a little bit about my journey. So I have been kind of like, I call it like awakened or doing healing work since a very young age. I think around 12 years old when I started experiencing traumas, being aware that these are traumas. So from a very young age, I started maturing or wanting to better myself. I remember my father was an alcoholic, abusive alcoholic, and then ended up having substance abuse. So I went to retreats as a family to learn about this condition. And I don't know, I never had seen weed in my life. And here I am seeing all the spectrum of substances that you can use and abuse and how they impact you. So yoga was one of the practices that has helped me greatly do some introspection and being present and more conscious and mindful of my decisions and my actions. That doesn't mean that I'm always constant or consistent. I have done my practice on and off, and I had the honor to become a yoga instructor. I call it like a baby yoga instructor because I never went really deep into the philosophy and really embracing the lifestyle. So it definitely was great ground base for me to have this medicine calling, if you will. Obviously, through our relationship and sharing things between one another, the opportunity of you guys hosting the healing in the United States was amazing. So
because you have family members that were Army, so
yes, surrounded by them.
Yes, so you were one of our first healing our family members, because as we've said many times, it's not just the active duty military or the first responders that have the trauma that need healed or issues or things that come up. It's the family members.
Absolutely.
So we were glad to be able to have you as a family member as one of our very first.
Thank you. And it's awesome to be seen that way, seen, recognized, and valued, because even when I was in the journey, which I believe we'll get there at some point, even when I was there, I felt like I'm not worthy of this. My trauma is not big enough for me to be here. And no, like, it is very valid, and it is a trauma. It doesn't matter the size of it. So it was amazing to have the opportunity to do the journey.
Yeah, because nobody's trauma, like Matt has spoken about this a number of times, trauma's trauma. So if it's traumatic to you, if it's affected you, if it's part of something that you need to heal, then it's trauma. It doesn't matter if it's not trauma to somebody else. It doesn't really matter.
Very recently, I went to a retreat about trauma. It was a 3-day retreat. And one of the classes, I felt very personally attacked. It was hilarious. So the doctor who is coaching the class presents this big Oreo cookie package on the screen. And I smiled because I joked that I relapse with my Oreos because I binge on these packages. And it was my package. It was family size, extra stuff. And what is the other thing? Like, it's just like 3 rows. And he was like, oh my goodness, that's me right there. And he was explaining how trauma gets processed differently by different people. The exact same trauma. He said, some people here can eat 3 of these and not gain 1 ounce. And I'm like, that's me. I feel like shit after I do it. But it's like something I'm working on. Yeah. And then he said, other people, just from looking at this photo, you have gained already 1 ounce.
That's me.
Right?
Yeah.
So the exact same situation will have a different impact in different people. And he explains it by it's your metabolism, is how active you are, is the amount of work that you do, the other things that you eat kind of deal. So he explained trauma will be digested, if you will, depending on your support group. So when you are a child and you experience trauma, but you have strong presence in your community, you're part of sports, you're part of church, whatever it is, your family dinners, and you are very involved, your trauma will digest a little easier. Versus when you're a little bit more isolated and you don't have the opportunity to talk and process or replace that trauma feeling with a positive one, trauma lingers a lot longer.
Right.
So
that makes sense.
The same Oreo package impacts different. So I remember being in the journey surrounded by these amazing people who have saved lives, served in the military, doctors who are also in the healing industry. And I'm here like as a civilian, like well, I'm fine. I guess I'm fine. So it was just amazing to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. We were honored to have you there.
Thanks.
So let us know. Let's start on your journey. So you packed up your bags and head on down to Colorado?
Yes. So a little bit before that, we started working with preparation for the journey. I did few phone calls. We were talking about breath work, the importance of that connection with your physical body. We worked with, obviously, like the yoga practice, continue to do it and show up. Journaling. I'm terrible at journaling. Same. It's an effort for me. It is still till this day. However, when I do, I see the difference and the impact it has is so great. So there was some journaling entries. So you kind of like start preparing for your intentions for the medicine. We did the travel. We met at the airport, and it was really awesome to kind of like see the people. We're 2 completely different people when we come in and when we leave. Oh, yeah. So Matt was in charge. He knew. Yeah. He would capture a photo of before and a photo of after. Yeah. And it's incredible. Like
your eyes.
Yes, our eyes are lit up. Our faces. It's just like you feel like you leave a lot of weight behind.
Yes.
So we get there. We meet the group. It's very slow entry, right? Everybody is coming kind of like walking on eggshells, knowing that we're all here to do some work.
Nerve-sighted.
Yeah.
My favorite word. You're like nervous and excited.
Yes, nerve-sighted, yes. So there is obviously a lot of privacy that you want to respect of others around you. So there is a very careful approach into wanting to get to know each other. We go and set up in the spaces and come and we just hang out together while other people arrive from their travels and kind of like mingled a little bit. We sat by the fire. We did an introduction. Everybody shared a little bit about their experience and their intentions and why they were there. We had some pretty funny moments from the get-go. So you could tell like the group had a really good dynamic together. I not once felt judgment. Yeah, I not once felt lesser or not valued for what I was there. And I'm surrounded by the superheroes. You know, like you gotta understand. I see these people like with this big capes, and they just seem so heroic to me. Yeah. But not once they made me feel lesser.
And it's amazing when you go on these retreats, you walk in all as strangers, but when we get to the end of your journey, you're going to have left and you feel like you're family.
Yes.
You know, you walk in and you're like, wow, okay, it's awkward.
It's amazing to see how some of us stayed in touch very, very tightly after. Some of us have just touch base here and there.
Right.
But it's incredible. You do feel like there is
you
a very
feel
strong
connected.
Yes.
In some level
100%.
Forever. Yeah.
Correct. The level of vulnerability that you get to experience between one another is something that you don't match.
You can't even explain it to people. Yes. Well, let's get into your journey. All right, so we have the fire circle. Yes. Talk about your intentions and go.
And it's go time. It's happening. So the moment that we are ready to take the medicine, they bring it on like in a tea. We're all sitting by the fire, and it tasted really nice. It had like a citrus flavor. I remember like looking at everybody doing it, and I'm like, this is happening. And through the preparation to it, we were joking like, it's happening, this is happening, we're doing it. So when we all did it, like it was really funny. One of the guys said, we're doing it, it's happening. And we're sitting by the fire. So they tell us when you start feeling something, go and make yourself comfortable. We had sleeping bags. It was Colorado in October, end of October. So it was like a nice cooler temperature for some people. They can walk out in shorts.
Matt said you guys had like all 4 seasons in those
4
days.
It was stunning. We arrived in summer. Yeah. Literally, I was wearing sport bras and shorts when working out, sauna, plunging. It was amazing. And the very next morning from the journey, it was snowing.
That's insane.
So like I woke up to everything white.
That's beautiful.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And from there, I'm like a Florida lizard, actually Puerto Rican lizard here. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm cool. So I was the very first one to experience something. And it was just so quick. Like I blinked my eyes and I could see the fire a little brighter. And I'm like, okay, bye. I'll see you guys on the other side. And I went and got comfortable. I actually went and used the restroom, everything. I still had enough time. Get in my cocoon. We end up calling my sleeping bag the Coco cocoon because I was transforming in there, right? And I get comfortable. I did choose to wear the eye mask. A lot of people talk about the eye mask situation. The eye mask was very comfortable. You can still open your eyes. It has kind of like cushion around it, but you can open your eyes and your eyelashes are not touching. So it's comfortable to kind of like check in with your body. I did take it off and oh my goodness, everything looks like so exciting. And then I put it back on. But when my journey started, something we did before was we were pulling our spirit animals. And it was cool to do that because everybody kind of like is like chiming into that spirituality. And before the journey, my spirit animal was the horse. And during my journey, my horse was a she. She showed up, she picked me up, and we were galloping through the journey.
Oh, wow.
And it was like a really nice, strong, sturdy, like strong pace, but she was sassy. She was fun. I felt so empowered through it. She was a separate entity from me. She was just carrying me through the journey. And I could see, I ended up doing a painting about this. I could see the entire, like if you will, the universe. I was in everything, and there was no timeline. There was no past, no present, no past, no present, no future. Like we were all in it, existing at the same time. And I could see balls of energy, like if they were galaxies, if you will. Like there was a micro dust, but there were stars in them. Wow. And these balls of energy were rotating as I came and approached. I could recognize who this was. The horse will lift me. And it's time for me to process what I needed to process with that person. I did not see faces. There were like no body shapes, pure energy.
Yeah, you just feel who it is.
You feel it. And there's just like a feeling of recognition. I see you. I feel you. but there was separation. Your problems are not mine, even though I want to help you so bad.
Yeah.
So when processing that, you could feel the tears dripping, or I could feel my tears dripping through my face. And when it was time to move on, you feel kind of like resolution. You feel relieved, even though that was painful and separation, if you will. There was like this big gasp, like you take so much air. I felt like my entire body became my trachea. Like it was just pure air healing. And then on the exhale, my horse will show up.
Oh, wow.
And it's time to move on. And it was here we go again. So I got to experience that with a couple different people. Interesting, because one of the things I asked the medicine when I showed up was not what I got in my journey.
That happens a lot.
And I was looking for clarity with particular situations, but they say it a lot, and it takes a lot of work to be able to put this together, but the medicine gives you what you need,
right?
Not what you want.
Yep.
And I got a lot of truth.
Yeah.
Truth about myself that I wasn't even aware. And here I am thinking like, I'm so self-aware, you know, like I do so much work with myself. No, stay humble, little girl. You need to do a lot of work, you know? So it was really nice to have experienced that, knowing that the horse was carrying me through. I got a beautiful moment with what I describe as my ancestors. I got a message that I can relate a lot to it. My ancestor, they were like these big figures around me. There was a lot of red flowers, amapolas. I don't know the name of this flower in English, but the iguanas here eat them.
Oh, okay.
Which is a very traditional flower in Puerto Rico. Like you get to see them all around. And there was a lot of these flowers and a lot of coquis, which is it's a little frog that sings in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Coqui. So I was back in my roots in the island, and they were playing music with guitar. The music was not through my ears. This music was in my brain.
Oh, wow.
I can't explain how clear and powerful. I could feel the vibrations of the music. It was stunning. And they sang to me in Spanish. And they gave me a really nice message. And I joke, with great power comes great responsibility. I'm like, I don't want to hear it. So it was very, very beautiful. It was reassuring. And that made me feel really good. I'm not alone. And in that message, I could see family members from before. And I could see family members that are not even here yet.
I find that so interesting with the medicine. People, as different as every single person's journey is, like almost everybody I've talked to has something where you see your history, you see your roots, you see old things. The medicine takes you because it is ancient and it has been healing people for centuries, and you're part of that, and you get all the ancient healing benefits, and you see who your roots are. A lot of people get that. As much as everybody's is different, there's that one common thread, which I find so interesting with the medicine.
And to your point, saying like there's a common thread, when we all started like reporting back, like how was your journey? We all felt the big gasp of air when moving on from things. Like there was another one of us whose spirit animal was the eagle. And he was saying, and he came to the podcast too, Brent, he was saying like he could hear the wind, the wings flapping.
Oh, wow.
Powerful things, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting how
there's a common thread, but everybody's is completely their own.
Yes, absolutely. So for me to have experienced that eternal moment, if you will, was very reassuring.
Yeah.
Now I do feel that it was a little disconnecting from my family, because it's all these traumas from generations.
Right.
And it has been kind of like my responsibility to ensure that this gets digested, right?
Break that chain.
Break it, yes, and then I pass it on. So there is kind of like a disconnection between, I don't necessarily relate to how we're doing things, and I'm going to do them differently. And you get looked at differently because they don't necessarily have tools and resources to handle the situation the same way.
Right.
Yeah. So then it started raining, and it was quite perfect timing because we had been, don't ask me about timelines, right?
Yeah.
I'm a perfect timing, but don't ask me about timelines. It was quite perfect timing for the rain to come and feel like Mother Nature is cleansing you.
Wow.
And we kind of like felt it, like you could hear it in the sleeping bags in my cocoon. And it was like, wait a second. And you come out and it's like, oh yes, please pour on me. And we all reported back like it was perfect timing.
Yeah.
It was like so refreshing, so light and so awesome. For some reason, obviously starts raining more. So everybody starts migrating inside. Except this one over here. She's like, I can't move.
Stay out here.
Okay, I can't move. Help. I wasn't ready physically yet to start moving. So I needed to use help, and I was carried inside, and they placed me on a sleeping bag, covered me with blankets, offered me water, and I was still processing. And my journey took kind of a turn from being outside with Mother Nature and reconnecting with everything to now being in a building. I don't like being indoor. So I think this also subconsciously had something to do with it.
Did you also, once you went inside, did you leave the eye shades on or did you go eye shades off?
Oh, what a great point.
Because
they were off.
I've noticed, like, because when I did my journey, I did eye shades on the whole entire time. And it was totally internal. Wow. And when Matt did the medicine in Colorado, he was eye shades off because he thought it was beautiful to look at everything, and but his journey was more outside, and I just think there's something to that. Like if you wear your eye shades on, you're focused on what's inside.
Absolutely.
If your eye shades are off, I mean, I could be like a squirrel, like, hey, look over there. Oh, look over there. So I wonder, yeah.
Yes.
Well, let's get into that. So, eye shades possibly off inside.
Yes. What a really good point. Again, this is how beautiful the integration is, because every time you share a little bit about your story, you continue to get info, right? So, yes, my eye shades were off. So now I am outwards. And the environment around we had like red lights, which is extremely important to when your pupils are so dilated and to not be disruptive. But no, for me, that wasn't helpful.
But it also seems evil.
Yes.
I would think.
Yes, I was in hell.
Yeah.
And again, my vision is still distortion. So I'm like blinking. What? And then, I end up resolving with a lot of work. And it took me weeks, maybe months, to find a clear solution to why was this my message. It had to do with me finding my truth and understanding that in many occasions, subconsciously, I was making decisions out of fear. And I was not aware of that.
Yeah.
It caught me by surprise. And I don't know if it has to do with, again, my childhood traumas and piling up all these things and having to be in survival mode and not attending and addressing things,
right,
where I'm going to be safe and I'm going to choose the safe path because I have an absent father, and it's like me on my own here, right? And there's only so much a mother can do, right, when in that sense. Not to take credit to my superhero mother. Oh my goodness, this woman. The more I continue growing, the more I look back at her and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, I hug her and I'm like,
yeah,
what a strong woman you are,
right.
And it's not like you're strong, but how you have been able to stay on your feet and handle situations.
Right.
So I think this whole clarity comes when I was having a family situation. This is months into being back, still working on integration. And one of the family friends is trying to help and asking all these questions. What if this scenario? What if this other scenario? And you can find myself like looking for intellectual answers and still trying to be emotionally intelligent and conscious and empathetic with how this can impact. AKA also very calculated with what I was sharing. And then he asked me, what is your biggest fear of this outcome? And I was so quick. Bleh. And I'm, Wait a second. I didn't even need to think about that.
Right.
I knew it so quickly, and all my decisions were backing up, avoiding my biggest fear.
Right.
No, woman,
Yeah.
you gotta go through it.
Yeah.
You gotta confront it, and you gotta get through it. Otherwise, you're just gonna keep dodging it and dodging it. And in that moment, it's like domino effect to my entire journey and integration, just kind of like a big picture. Boom! I could see it.
Wow.
And it was very reassuring.
Yeah.
That okay, the message was given to me in this intensity because a stubborn personality like mine needed a little slap there. Like, listen,
You're really going to listen to this.
you gotta listen. Correct. We gotta get your attention. Yes.
Yeah, that's so you operate on fear, which I feel like, then you have a child and then you really operate life on fear because you're like, how do you, take care of them, make sure that they don't go through trauma and all that stuff. So how have you integrated or more of your journey? What else did you see on how you deal with your fear?
So it's really interesting. I listened to one of your podcasts and one of your episodes, I should say, like everything is fine. Everything is going to be fine, right? Is that practice non-attachment, that fear of hurting him, my son, I have a boy, that fear of hurting him or losing him, God forbid something happens to him, like what version of me is going to stay alive if I stay alive and all that kind of stuff. But I have been working on being more mindful of understanding the situation a little bit more objectively. So if I can be in the situation and look at it as empathetically as possible from your shoes, from his shoes, from her shoes, like everybody else, and not necessarily how it impacted me or could potentially impact me, that has helped me process that fear a little bit more, because the situation, it's not going to change.
Right.
It's how you process it. I listened to a book. I say I listened to a book because if I were to be reading, I would never finish books.
Right, same.
And for my work, you shared earlier, thank you for that too.
Yes.
I do travel a lot to go to clients' home, measure spaces. So I do have a lot of time in the car that I try to invest for self-development when I'm not jamming.
Right.
And sometimes you need that creative outlet too.
Yeah.
And I listened to a book. The book is titled, I'm pulling a blank on the book right now. Nonviolent Communication.
Okay.
I owe you the author. And the book expresses or teaches you this awareness of when people are expressing something, they are expressing most likely their feelings or how it impacted them. But the root cause is there is a need that is not being met.
Right.
What is that need? And for me to identify what are my needs has been a lot of work, because you don't live necessarily aware of what are those needs. And to give a very shallow example, you tell your husband who's working all day outside and comes home and it's like, you don't spend enough time with me. I want to spend more time with you, and then we're watching TV and we're not connecting. I don't like that you're always working, or when we're on the weekends, you go and work out or go and do your thing. There is an expression of disconnection. There is an expression of disappointment, or you feel lonely, but there is a need that is not being met, and is that need of connection. So when I'm listening to people, or I'm finding myself in a situation where I'm being triggered by the fear, right, is what need is not being met and why am I being fearful of this? And it's being able to dive to that root cause rather than staying in the feeling, which to me, honoring the feelings is the most important step, being that aware, being aware of those emotions and feeling them and honoring them to process them. So when I found that resolution of I operate out of fear, is what dive in a little bit more. Fear is the emotion that I'm feeling because of what?
Right.
And in different cases have been different needs that are not being met. And the same with people who are talking to me. Okay, you're saying these things. What need do you have that I'm not meeting?
Right.
And it's being able to shift there.
And it's amazing with the integration that you've done. You get the message on the journey, and then when you come home, it's you come home and you're like, what just happened?
I don't want to see anybody.
And you're like, I don't even know what any of that meant. But then the more you think about it, and I know like when we did our Iboga retreat, like shortly after I had to go to a cheerleading competition, story of my life. And
She's so good.
I love it though, but story of my life. But I was in the bathroom taking a shower, and this was like maybe 3 weeks later. I had like a total like, oh my gosh, that's why I've been doing this my whole life. Like, what?
Voila.
So it's interesting, you know, the time after how,
Yes.
you know, they say there's all the different periods after a journey, and when you do proper integration, or if you really focus on yourself afterwards and you take that time for yourself, you can figure it out, you know, and then that's where the growth comes.
Yes, absolutely. Matthew is very numerical, analytical, right? And he uses these numbers, like 5% of the work is during the journey.
Yep.
And then the 95% is integration. And I remember him like then shifting. Actually, 1% is the journey.
Yeah.
99% is when you come back.
Yeah.
I can relate to the story of cheerleading that you just shared because I myself also came back to a really big event for our company where only few people were invited to participate based on performance. And it was a recognition event. And I kid you not, I worked really, really, really hard to make it to that group. It was a huge, huge accomplishment. And I feel very proud of myself to making it there. I could not think of being around these people.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is just
Wasn't
not
the right
happening.
time.
And I end up having to send a message, and I'm like, please excuse myself. Like I'm going through something here.
Yeah.
I'll see you soon. And I remember choosing to go and do a yoga class instead because I was still processing all the information. I'm coming close to the year anniversary from doing the medicine. And
Well, and real quick, good for you for stepping outside and advocating for yourself, because I know how I personally am, and that was something I found in Costa Rica also, is that I always do what I feel like other people want me to do, or like in the sense of like, I don't want to disappoint somebody.
correct.
So good for you for standing up for yourself and saying, you know what, I'm proud of myself for this huge accomplishment that I worked very hard for, and thank you for the acknowledgement, but I need to put myself first. So good for you as a woman, as a woman, as a mother, as everything, because I know in particular, those categories, we put ourselves last. So
Absolutely.
good job putting yourself
Thank
first.
you.
I'm proud of you for that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Absolutely. I've been shopping and I have many things in the cart, and I'm like, wait, I have all these things for him. Let me put mine back. You know,
Yeah.
It's
Right.
in
That's
every
what we do.
decision we do it, not even
For
realizing.
other people.
Yes. Thank you for recognizing that. Absolutely. So I'm coming close to the year anniversary of having done the journey, and till this day, I look back and I still, if you will, like I'm getting little downloads here and there, and I do it in quotations because you can do certain activities through breath work, through the yoga practice, through meditation. You tap in again into the medicine, and you continue to get those voila moments, like when you were in the shower kind of deal. And for me, it has been extremely important to be patient because I'm kind of like very structured also. It's interesting. I find like I could be oil and I could be water, and I can bounce between sides, analytical and creative kind of deal. And with this, like spirituality and yet expecting results, I'm like here, finding myself that I need to slow down and be more patient. One of the intentions that I set for the medicine was physical. It was an allergy that I react to seafood and medicine. And I said, this is going to heal me. And I have had one bite. Nothing has happened. But I experienced like a physical, like, I'm like, this is where I purged very, very little. And I felt like it was part of it purifying. And going to tap back in really quickly into kind of like, I want to give kudos and thank you. Thank you to the team who was there, because not only we did the psilocybin for the entire group, we did tap into other medicine. The journey I felt was very personalized. Even though we did it as a group, the needs that were being expressed were being taken care of individually.
Really good.
I felt like it took a little bit longer for me to come back, and that was respected and that was honored, and I never felt like out of place. I was always very taken care of in that sense. So I wanted to have the opportunity to share that. I'm like, wait a second.
Good.
But yes, I think being patient with yourself coming back in is extremely key, or has been very helpful for me. And there is an element of loneliness. Loneliness, you can feel it when you know you're surrounded by a really strong community, but you can't relate to them and they can't relate to you. And you start feeling a little bit of disconnection. And I have this analogy of like you're changing frequencies, you're vibrating at a different frequency. You're no longer going to match the people that were with you at the beginning. You're not quite there with the people that you're going to match you. You're in the cocoon, you're transitioning, you're growing, and it could be painful and sometimes very lonely. So having the support group, it has been great. You know, having the opportunity to call back, check in has been great.
So when you were in the, you guys moved into the house, to go back to that real quick, and shades off, and you were in hell.
Are we going back?
You're like, where's my horse?
Where are you? Oh no.
So walk us through that part of the journey, if that's
okay.
comfortable.
Yes, I'll share some of it.
Yeah.
That part of the journey became very external. You said it earlier. Shades on, shades off. You get two different versions. And I wasn't seeing it so clearly. So thank you for sharing that. Became a little bit more external, and how the people around me impacted me. The perception that I was having, or what was happening, I was interpreting it, mirroring myself and them, had nothing to do with them. I couldn't say that to you a month after. There's no way. I was so confused. I'm like, what is happening? Physical distortion. Like I could see people's faces change into a negative thing. And it was hard for me. I was in my bing bag and I was with my blankets, and I'm like, nobody come close to me. I started experiencing a lot of trust issues, and
that might have been from your fear, right?
100%. When you dig back in me, I have been betrayed in many, many, many different roles in life. Family, friends, work environment, where I feel like I trusted you with my work, and then now you take the credit kind of stuff. So in many ways, I have had trust issues, and here I am.
It's highlighting it big time.
Medicine is like, here it is. But it's my responsibility to digest this message, right? The message doesn't always make sense.
And it was just trying to, I mean, you know, maybe it was like you said, stubborn.
Oh, yes.
It's going to throw it at you in a large way, so that the only way through it is through it. You have to go through it.
Yes.
You can't ignore it.
100%. 100%. So I was mirroring my fears, my trust issues, and all the people here. I remember them saying like, Coco, we're here for you. And
at that time, you're like, yeah, I don't really want that.
I'm not going to say it here, but like, it was a lot of anger coming out, and I've never been interested in rage rooms. Now I'm like, where's one? I want to go to one. I want to break. I need an outlet. I want to do some jujitsu and headlock some people. It's like, oh my goodness, I didn't know this was here. I end up getting a little physical. I got up with help to go and use the restroom. And what I perceived from the situation made me feel unsafe. And I started breaking things, and they put me back again in my big bag. Okay, you got to go right there.
Back in your cocoon.
You're on timeout.
We're zipping you up.
You got to stay safe, girl. No, so I went back into my bin bag, and they were cleaning up and everything, but I could shift. I could see how my brain would shift between messages, and if I could put a word in it, I was glitching. I was between like, no, this is not real. You're just in it. This is part of your message. Do the work, to boom. No, this is truth. This is it. And I was in it, and I was taken by it, you know. So I had support through the entire night. I chose to not go to sleep. Even though they were telling me, eat something, let's go to sleep. I'm like, no, there's poison in the food. No, so I end up having to get a little bit more companionship, if you will, which I received. And the group got up the next morning and they went back to whatever they did. I think there was like sauna, plunging, really good breakfast. I was in my dome, getting the rest that I should have gotten the night before. Yeah. And I was able to do one-on-one sections to still be able to integrate a little bit better and come back. Kind of like in preparation to wanting or not to participate in the second ceremony kind of deal. There was a second side to my journey, a very positive one who gave me a lot of resolution. And then there was, if we're going to put it a name, you need to do a lot of work version of it. I don't want to call it something negative because it is my truth.
It taught you a lot.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I feel like from what you've said, the first part was healing, and the second part was where you had to dive in and showed you the work that needed to be done.
Do the work, absolutely. You put it into great words. I have definitely been feeling gratitude for the positive side. It was just so empowering. It was so. There is a lack of vocabulary. Number one, English is my second language, so I lack vocabulary in that sense. But the human words to the emotion that you feel, I don't feel like describe it, but there is this totality, there is this oneness that I got to experience that is very fulfilling and reassuring that we are all one, that we are all love and light. And I'm so grateful I got to experience that with my horse.
Yeah.
And then on the other one, I showed up and I asked the medicine for my intentions, and my medicine is like, your intentions are not what we need to work right now.
Right.
You need to work with your truth.
Yeah. And that happens a lot. I find that people, they go in and they're like, this is going to be huge. When I go in, this thing that happened in my life is going to be there. It's going to be front and center. And then it doesn't even show up. And you're like, you come out and you're like, what? Okay, so I need to fix that first before I can even get over to that. So yeah, it's interesting how the medicine, like you said, it gives you what you need. It does not give you what you want. If you could give you what you want, it would give me like sunshine and lollipops.
Lollipops. I remember talking with Matthew before going and being very transparent with him with like, hey, this is what I want to work with. This is my intention, being a little bit more vulnerable with him and around him. Because at that moment, I was like closer with him than I was with you in that depth of conversation. And he told me like, Carolina, he actually calls me Coco. He's like, Coco, don't go with an expectation.
Right.
The medicine could give you anything that you need, not what you want.
Right.
It could be this, it could be that, it could be not even there.
Yeah.
And I remember in a moment of the journey, I was still riding my horse and I'm like where is this person? Take me there. Nope.
Yeah.
Where is this person? Take me there. No. Like it was, and it's not that the horse was telling me no. It's just this person, it's not coming right now.
Right.
And part of the integration where I was still tapping into the medicine very, very strong, I'm going to say like 70% sober already. You feel your body coming back, like your physical abilities coming back, your vision and everything. But you still feel the medicine running through you, doing the healing, doing the work. And at that moment, I remember tapping into a very strong, painful interaction that I had with one of my family members. And I'm like, this doesn't feel resolved. Can we tap in? And I intentionally went to that dark side. Since it's already dark here, is that a little bit more darkness? Since you're not going to notice. Since we're at it.
Well, we're at it here.
And I remember seeing, I was on my bed, in my bed. You guys in English don't have this on and in, right? You got it backwards. Yeah. I was on my bed because I wasn't between my bed sheets, so I wasn't in it.
Right. You were on it.
I was on my bed. And I could see ladybugs, and the ladybugs were something symbolic about this person in my life. And I had a lot of love and respect for this human that I had lost. and the damn ladybugs are in the bed with me. I'm like, gosh darn it, you're here.
Yeah.
So I tapped in and I asked the medicine for resolution, and I was given the resolution.
Oh,
and
that's
in that
amazing.
sense, I felt like, okay, there is some that you gave me that I asked. Thanks.
Yeah.
And it was nice because I was able to move on past that situation without judgment, where before I was very attached to an expectation. I was very disappointed at this person, how this person handled the situation, and I couldn't move past it. I'm like, how could you do that and expect different, right? But it needed to be brushed, and we needed to move on, and I couldn't. So during the journey, I was able to thoroughly understand and feel empathy for the person, because this person is doing the best they can with the tools and resources they have.
Yeah.
So I let go of that judgment and expectation and disgust, disappointment that I had with the person, and I felt relieved. I'm like, the ladybugs and I can hang out together a little longer.
Yeah. Well, and it's good because, you know, you also get, when you do those kinds of things. So I've noticed after my journeys that I'm better. I see that now. Like, I see, like, when somebody's doing something to me, I don't go, you're doing that to me, because, you know, I see it as they're doing the best they can. Yes. Nobody's trying. I want to believe nobody's trying to hurt you. You know, that they're doing the best they can with what they have. Yes. And that is a message that I've received too. And it really does help you heal yourself. Mm-hmm. Aside from you feel better about this person and whatever, it makes, you know, by forgiving and healing, letting them, you'll heal them somehow, and you're healing yourself, because you've understood that it's not
a battle that we need to pick.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And you would hope that they didn't do that to hurt you on purpose, that even if it came across that way, that maybe it was just the best they could do at that minute.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's a good way to move through.
Yes.
So did you end up doing the 5-MeO, or you did
I
not?
did.
You did?
I did.
How was that?
I did a PG version.
Yeah.
I was very skeptical, or I was still traumatized
It's a lot from the day before. Yeah.
I'm traumatized from my trauma healing approach. I'm like, what just happened here? But I trusted the process. I trusted that I was surrounded by people that really were here to help you heal, right? I met the person who came to guide the 5-MeO, and I had a one-on-one, and I was extremely transparent. There was like no TMI here. It's like, no, this is the information. And he was very reassuring that this was going to be helpful for me, and we were going to do a PG version and modified. So I was still part of the girls group. However, I went first, and I didn't go full blast. Okay. So he asked me to, like, you smoke it. And in your episode, you explained that you can't smoke.
It was a disaster.
I'm like, I didn't have that problem. Unfortunately, I was a smoker. So I had some practice. You see, if you look at it, everything happens for a reason. I was a smoker, so I could do this fine, right? Yeah. It's one way to look at it. Yeah. So I did one hit. I think I ended up doing a second one because of the length of the inhalation. And I was sitting up. I never closed my eyes and laid back to get the journey, right? Right. He explained, you're going to feel it in your body, what to expect physically. And he asked me to lock in eye contact with him the entire time. So I felt very, very, very grounded. With him, I felt so safe. Oh, good. I was like, oh, you're keeping me here. I'm not going places. Yeah. I would verbalize what I was feeling and where I was feeling it in my body, because he explains that this medicine goes and heals physically your body and releases energetic trauma. So I was guiding him. No, like, I was verbalizing how I felt the medicine navigating through my body. I would ask for permission, like, can I move my legs and everything? And like, everything felt, and this is where my analytical part was very happy. Everything felt very controlled in a sense. So that was really nice. And reassuring to what I needed in that moment. I'm like, don't let me go anywhere. Right. But there was a feeling. I remember reaching down to the ground. It was a floor in the main house, but the main house was grounded. It was not lifted on platforms or anything like the domes. I'm very like Mother Earth and love the outdoors. So to me, like reaching down felt like connecting with Mother Earth, and I could like feel my fingers were like if I was a tree with roots going in. It was very powerful, and I could feel the energy so clean, so pure, so much love in my heart. I was like, your sense, everything is fine.
Yeah.
Everything is going to be okay. And trust the process. And once again, it was very reassuring and kind of like solving, in a sense, that it doesn't matter what gets thrown at me. It doesn't matter what had been thrown at me. In the end, everything is fine. Yeah. Everything gets resolved, diluted, or dissolved. I lack words to explain. It just, poof, it's gone. And you feel so much love. Yeah. I didn't get to experience the closing my eyes and my own death and then coming in rebirth, but I feel like I got what I needed in that moment, and it was that pure love, pure energy, reassurance feeling.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's amazing.
It was a different one.
Yeah, that's good.
And all of this, like I would close my eyes, and he's like, "Open your eyes, look at me." And it was kind of like a little dance with like, but I want to tap in. I'm here. Let me tap in. No, don't let me go. It's like a little dance, and it was amazing because again, I felt the group was so supportive to what was needed in that moment for me. Yeah. So they took my healing and the rest of the group's healing as
individual.
This is what you need. This is what we will help you get. You know.
Oh wow, yeah, that's great. Well, I am so glad that your journey and your trip as our first people to Colorado was a success, and I appreciate you being here, and so glad to see you. I don't really get to see you very often. It's very good to see you. I haven't seen you since you've been back, so you look beautiful.
Thank you. So do you.
Well, thank you. And yeah, so thank you for joining us today for our MAX Afterburner, and Wiz will be back, I promise. It won't be me next time. And we're out.